Elijah, the prophet, was doing God's work. He was holding on to the faith. He was being the prophet. He was speaking forth. He was standing for truth and justice, speaking forth what needed to be said, and he was being persecuted. He was being hounded. It was just one thing after another, running for his life. He ended up in a cave, and in the midst of that cave, he was then the hurricane, the fire, sound, earthquake, all sorts of things started outside. But afterwards, there was a sheer silence. And in that sheer silence, he was able to hear the still, small voice of God. And what we always remember that, to listen for that still, small voice. But what that voice told him was really important, because he was feeling alone. I'm the only one that understands what I'm doing. Complaining to God about all sorts of the hardships he endured. And what God said to him was, "Good work, Elijah. You've done a great job. But there are hundreds of other people that are still being faithful, doing good work too. Your work is done. Go anoint a new king. Go anoint a new prophet to take your place." Changing his vision. He thought he was alone, the lone voice. And God saying, "You're not alone. And a new work needs to be done." How do we change our perspective to see something different, to let go of old wounds, old hurts, old way of thinking, or even things that we know are right or certain? To see from a different perspective, that's hard. In the gospel story today, we have the apostles in a boat, and a wild storm is emerging, and Jesus comes walking in the water. And Peter, seeing him, just runs out of the boat to get to see him, then realizes, "What am I doing?" and then starts to sink down. When our eyes are on God, we're able to see things from a different perspective. Peter able to see Jesus going out, not thinking that he could walk on the water, that wasn't a question. But when we stop and just focus on what we know, our own perspective of, I can't do that, everything becomes impossible. Everything is limited. But when we move towards God, our entire perspective changes. It's important to have the ability to see things from different angles, because with that we can find compassion. We can find understanding. And God is trying to speak to us, but we keep so busy. There's so many loud storms of noise within our life, even within our mind. It's just an onslaught of constant thoughts. Lying awake in bed, we can come up with 1,000 things to worry about. Or keep the TV on in the background, or the noise all around us. Even the worries that haunt us. Or the political opinions that we think must be addressed. Underneath all of these things, there is a silence. When we put everything down for a while. And simply in that silence, try to hear the voice of God. And it might be telling us that we're okay. We've done well. But so are other people. There's a lot going on. A lot that you may not be seeing. A lot that I may not be seeing. God is trying to open doors in our life. We try to keep so many closed to protect ourselves. God is trying to get us to look in different directions. A good photographer is not the one that just looks at what everyone's looking at, but oftentimes looks at things from a different angle, to see things that everyone isn't looking at. It's a great way of seeing how God is trying to get our attention to look in different directions, to see that picture that no one else might be seeing. To understand each other in new ways, to be surprised by the people most familiar to us. God's love is new every morning. This morning, may you discover it anew. Fall in love with yourself again. Fall in love with your neighbors, with those close to you, with your world. Most of all, discover God walking in the midst of a storm to you. And let us just go to embrace him. Blessings on you and all those whom you love. Amen.